Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a classic piece of folklore. We've got the great King Krishna and his brilliantly sharp advisor, Tenali Rama. It's an incredible story about a crime, a royal court, and a defense so clever it's literally going to make you rethink how we enforce the rules we make. So, let's just get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this by starting with a pretty heavy question. When someone breaks a super strict rule, but they do it for a dying loved one, what's actually the right response? It's a huge dilemma, right? On one side, you've got the absolute need to maintain order. Laws are laws. But on the other side, you have raw, desperate human emotion. So how do we navigate that gray area? Well, the centuries-old story hits this exact philosophical puzzle right on the head. And honestly, the way it wraps up is nothing short of brilliant.
To really get the stakes here, we have to set the scene. Imagine the royal garden of King Krishna, and right in the middle of it are these incredibly delicious mangoes. Now, these weren't just your run-of-the-mill mangoes. They were the absolute prized possessions of the crown. Because they were so highly valued, the king put out a rock-solid royal decree. Absolutely no one was allowed to pick even a single mango without explicit permission. I mean, zero tolerance. It was a firm line drawn in the sand by the highest authority there is.
But, whenever there's a strict rule, it's bound to get tested. The whole thing kicks off late at night. An old man actually sneaks into the royal garden and grabs some of those forbidden mangoes. But his luck runs out pretty fast. Later that same night, boom, he's caught red-handed by the royal guards. Fast forward to the very next morning, and this poor, terrified old man is dragged directly into the royal court, right in front of the king. Just imagine the sheer literal terror of standing before the supreme ruler after you just broke his #1 rule. And this brilliantly illustrates the core conflict we're dealing with here. It's a total head-on collision of two entirely different worlds. If we look at it through a modern lens, it's the classic battle of strict liability versus mitigating circumstances. On the king's side, you have duty. A rule's a rule. If a king doesn't back up his own laws, the whole system just falls apart, right? But then, battling against that logic, you have the old man's motive. His wife has been sick for days. We're not looking at some master thief here, we're looking at a desperate, heartbroken husband.
So the king demands to know why he broke the order. And the old man, who is just completely flustered and terrified at this point, offers this incredibly raw plea. He says, "My wife has been sick for days. She expressed a desire to eat mangoes. I had no money to buy them, so I made a mistake." Wow. It's just so direct. He doesn't make excuses or deny the crime. He just lays bare how incredibly poor and vulnerable he is. He literally had zero money to give his dying wife one simple comfort.
Hearing that? Well, the king is instantly put in a really tough spot. Honestly, his heart melted a bit. He felt that totally natural pang of human sympathy. But, and it's a big but, he's still the ruler, and he makes it clear that punishment for theft is absolutely mandatory. You can practically feel his internal conflict. A softened heart doesn't just magically erase the legal reality that a crime happened, because at the end of the day, rules are rules.
Now, what's really interesting about this next moment is how the whole dynamic of the courtroom flips the second Tenali Rama steps in. Watching all this unfold, Tenali hones in on a crucial detail that totally bypasses the strict letter of the law. He notices just how incredibly destitute this accused man is. So before the king can blindly drop the hammer with a harsh sentence, Tenali politely steps in. He's actually the one who urged the king to ask who the mangoes were for in the first place, which is what brought out that tragic story we just talked about.
Once the old man's desperation is out there, but the king is still kind of clinging to the need for punishment, Tenali Rama drops this seemingly random but totally brilliant rhetorical question. He asks, "Maharaj, if you throw a stone at a tree, what does it give in return?" The king, who's probably a little puzzled but still humoring his favorite advisor, just answers simply, "It gives fruit." So the crucial point is delivered right here in Tenali's legendary punchline. He looks right at the king and says, "When an ordinary tree gives fruit even after being hit by a stone, why can't a great king like you show mercy?" It's just a masterclass in logic and metaphor. He takes the literal mango tree, a tree that responds to getting pelted with rocks by dropping sweet fruit, and compares it to the king. He's essentially challenging the king, saying, "Hey, shouldn't you be at least as generous as a simple tree in your own garden?"
Let's move along and see how this builds, because this logic deeply, deeply touches the king. He smiles, completely disarmed by the wisdom, and he does a total 180. Check out these 3 specific acts of grace. First, he forgives the old man, just drops the mandatory punishment entirely.
Second, he uses his royal resources to actually arrange for the sick wife's medical treatment. And third, this is the best part, as the man is leaving, the king gifts him a whole basket of those prized mangoes. He didn't just cancel the penalty, he solved the root of the man's desperation.
You can literally only imagine the energy in that courtroom after witnessing this. The whole place just erupts in unified praise. And they're really celebrating two distinct things here. One, the immense generosity of King Krishnadeva Raya, who proved he was a leader with a true heart for his people. And two, the razor-sharp wisdom of Tenali Rama. I mean, the guy knew exactly how to reframe a super rigid legal trap into this beautiful opportunity for human kindness.
Which brings us to the real core takeaway of today's explainer. True greatness isn't just about stubbornly enforcing the rules. I mean, yes, justice is absolutely crucial, no doubt about it. But justice is elevated. It's made so much greater when you inject it with mercy and compassion. Honestly, this is just as much a lesson in modern leadership as it is a centuries-old folktale. When you apply empathy where you can, the result isn't weakness. It's actually true, towering greatness. As we wrap up our analysis of this incredible story, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. How do you balance strict rules and human empathy in your own life? Because whether it's at your job, with your family, or just out in your community, we all hit those moments where the rules demand one thing, but our shared humanity is begging for another. The next time you find yourself stuck in that gray area, I really hope you remember Tenali Rama, the mango tree, and the absolute power of a compassionate response. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.